to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Thursday, April 10th. The Fantasy Footballers, Jason Moore, Mike Wright, Andy Holloway. Happy to be with you for another episode of the podcast. Might be watching over on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. Thank you for tuning in. We're all here. We're all ready to go. We got Keep Trade Cut today. We got some NFL news to talk about. We have a very fun, quick question we'll jump into momentarily. But how are you two gentlemen doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you for asking.
Good. What
are we doing here?
No,
what?
We're not doing anything. How are you, Mike?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, not a lot going on. Let's jump in here.
I'm in the throngs of top 30 visits over here, man.
Well, we've
trying to crack the code.
We've got early rankings shows coming out very soon as well, and I know you were working through your top 20 running backs?
We're getting into early running back rankings.
Right before the show, I know you were working on that a little bit.
Yeah, I was screwing everything up.
Yeah, breaking some of our documents. But quick question of the day.
When you say it full in documents, like what am I, tearing them up?
Yeah, we do it all on paper. And Mike walked over.
My quill is out of ink. Our documents are in
you
shambles.
You spilled some coffee on the papers, and we got to rewrite them. But that's why we got a team. You can see Deucer's Ellie. These guys take care of all the paperwork.
You can break a doc. You cannot break a document.
The document was too formal for you.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. UltimateDraftKit.com, the Dynasty Pass available now if you want to check that out. Our quick question of the day, name a rookie and a landing spot that you would love to see. So pick a rookie, pick a landing spot, and give me the reason why you want to see that rookie land there.
I'm going to jump in first.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to see Caleb Johnson go to the Broncos. And this is not my most ideal, like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to go crazy if this happens. But the Broncos, to me, are my favorite destination. There's a handful of really good destinations for running backs this year. You know, a lot of people love the Cowboys, the Bears. There's a handful. I'd be happy at the Chargers, the Steelers. There's a bunch. But to me, the Broncos are the one I'm pretty much the most excited for. It's a young, up-and-coming offense. You have a long history with Sean Payton of getting a ton of fantasy production out of his running back core. And it wasn't just because of Alvin Kamara. Way before Kamara was there, you know, whether it was Mark Ingram or whether it was
Pierre
Thomas, everybody. He's
Chris Ivory.
Yeah, I mean, the list was huge. This last year, the opportunity was totally there for Javonte Williams. The pass-catching running backs, like the targets to the running back position, outstanding. The talent was just not good enough. But the reason I want it to be Caleb Johnson going to the Broncos is because the other tippy-top guys, the guys like, Amarian Hampton, obviously Gentry, like Henderson, it doesn't matter where they go. They're going to be drafted high enough, and they're going to go somewhere where they're going to make an impact for fantasy football. But Caleb Johnson is a player I believe is very good. I think if given an opportunity in a good situation, he will succeed. And so he's the one I want to push up and add another guy to like your rookie drafts where you're going, oh, I'm excited about a fourth player. You know, you could say the same for like Cam Scatterbo. I want him to be an early draft pick. I don't care where he goes. Just some team to invest early because I think he's good.
You just want more players for us to care about.
Bingo.
Okay. Mike, who's the name for you?
I'm going to go with Terairoa McMillan to the Dallas Cowboys.
It's interesting because my answer to this question was almost Matthew Golden to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
so talk about your like of this fit.
So I like it because he's big-bodied outside wide receiver. We don't need to get creative with him. We don't need to move him into the slot, which he'll do some of that, I'm sure. But it's like we can keep CeeDee Lamb as the elite number one of the Dallas Cowboys, moving him all around while you have actually someone who the defense has to care about, and they're on the outside. And then CeeDee Lamb, runs PA crossers across the middle and then gets us tons of fantasy points where I don't know for sure if McMillan can be a true number one wide receiver in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying he can't, but I don't look at his film, at him being a prospect and go, yeah, absolutely, this is going to be a slam dunk. Like watching Malik Neighbors. We knew he would be he'll have no problem being a number one. Can McMillan do it? I don't know for sure. So get that secondary option where I'm not overly concerned about, holy crap, they added a true alpha here to the Cowboys. Is this going to bring CeeDee Lamb down at a couple spots? Is he wide receiver 6 now? I don't worry about that. It helps the offense, and I think that it's a great fit, and draft capital makes sense where they are selecting, and so I could see it happening.
So are you saying you would rather him go to a team with a quarterback where he could be the 2?
Yes.
Than go to maybe a worse offense as a whole, but he gets to be the 1?
That's what I would prefer.
All right, I went with Jaxson Dart to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would be pick 21 if it stayed the way it is now. I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Jaxson Dart the more that I watch him play, the more film I watch. I think that this fit – there are players that we want to care about on Pittsburgh. We've been fatigued.
Yeah, there are.
We've been fatigued by the quarterback situation. I don't know if we'll get what we want from Aaron Rodgers if he signs, but we want to care about DK Metcalf for a bunch of years. We want to care about Pat Freiermuth. We want to care about Jalen Warren, whoever they bring in at running back. We want the offense to matter again in Pittsburgh. And Jaxson Dart could be the guy that it works out. I think that he is probably going to go higher than 21. But Pittsburgh's a team that is going to be competing, that has pieces that would make it very easy on him. This is a 3-year SEC starter. I love his evasiveness in the pocket. I love the fact that he's gotten better every single year. I love the back shoulder throws. I love the ability. He's got some Josh Allen pocket awareness to him. Most yards in the SEC. Like, he's got NFL pedigree, right? Like, his dad played in the NFL. So I think we see a lot of things out of.
His name's Dart, and he throws.
He does.
Ball.
He does throw darts
come on.
as well. Highest yards per attempt. Those are darts.
Love it.
But no, I think that would be a really unique fit, and it's one where, like, you could see, like, what if Aaron Rodgers is not their quarterback? That's starter. That's like rookie starter. We've done the Kenny Pickett thing, and I know that didn't work out, and I know your odds are lower in the 20s, but I think that could be a move up.
Sure.
That could be a pick 14. That could be a pick 15.
Well, Pittsburgh does not currently have a second-round draft pick. I think Pittsburgh taking Jaxson Dart would be an excellent move at 83 in the 3rd round.
Well, Jason, for some reason, he clearly didn't watch the Gator Bowl because Jaxson Dart was the MVP of the Gator Bowl. He didn't watch the Senior Bowl. So, I mean, to me, though, Jaxson Dart, it's about a lot of isolated plays for him that are NFL level throws and not necessarily. I mean,
I think you're 100% right there, because when I watch quarterbacks, and I've said this for years, so I think Andy is a way better scout of quarterback talent than I am. That is not the position that I feel like I thrive in projecting, and so I'll probably give Jaxson Dart a little bit more leeway than based on my own eyes, because I'm like, I don't get it. I've watched a couple, but I think you're nailing why. He definitely has incredible plays, like this play where he evades the pocket, gets out, keeps his eyes downfield, throws, or scrambles and runs. But he also has a lot of inconsistency, and I see that over and over. I see some things where I go, what? And I prefer the every play type of quarterback. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go ahead of Sanders.
That's what my follow-up was going to be for you personally.
I do think he'll go ahead. That's why I don't think Pittsburgh at 21. Look, it's a spot you'd love to see. I don't know if it's going to work out. Also, I think Pittsburgh would be willing to make some more moves. I know they don't have a second to get up and get that position figured out if they believed in it. But I think he's going to go ahead of Shedeur Sanders. I think teams are falling in love with him. I think, it's strange because it's like somebody like Patrick Mahomes in college at Texas Tech. It was about this is like a 500 starter, but there were the plays, right? There were the plays and the athleticism and some of the things that happen. You do tend to be, when you're that talented, a do-it-all guy in college, and that leaves a lot of room for mistakes. He's not without his mistakes. I'm not saying he's a guarantee to succeed, but I would like DK Metcalf to matter, and right now he doesn't. And I'd like some of these other players to matter moving forward.
Right now, Mason Rudolph would be your projected starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and they, Dart has spent considerable time visiting Browns, Raiders, Giants, Saints, Rams, and then Steelers, because I think that was last week he visited the Steelers. So, look, I want more players to matter too, Jason. I'm with you on that. So let's talk some news.
News and notes from around the league.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reporting. It's always a tough one. Rappaport reporting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's also...
It's a real block blower.
I think that's why he got the job.
He's a Rappaport.
Exactly.
James Cook will play for the Bills in 2025.
That's good. He's under contract.
Yeah, maybe this is more news because, you worry about a hold-in, or you worry about him listing his house for sale.
Yeah, right after...
Did he do the socials?
He wiped socials a long time
did he
ago.
do that as well?
Yeah.
When Brandon Beane said that, the contracts, they tried to extend it, it didn't work, they went elsewhere, and then he lists the house for sale. You're
pulling out all the stops.
Petty. It's probably unrelated. I mean, putting your house to the market's a big decision. Maybe he just wants to move to a different neighborhood. But it looks very petty.
A neighborhood far, far away from Buffalo.
49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said Christian McCaffrey is healthy, but the 49ers will look to add a running back in the draft.
As they should.
They'll probably add 2. I mean, this team needs 5 or 6 a year. But right now it's Garindo, right? I mean, no Jordan Mason, no Elijah Mitchell. These guys were part of a backfield with McCaffrey before, so this is not a surprise nor a worry, really.
It's not a surprise, it's not a problem for Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey is just, if he's healthy, he's awesome, and he's one of the better running backs in football. It's more about, is Garindo going to be the backup, or are we going to have another third-round type running back going to the 49ers where you go, I don't know who the backup is anymore.
Really hope they don't draft a third-round running back. That would suck so much because right now Garindo –
it's one of their favorite things.
Garindo really matters.
Yes, he does.
A very valuable fantasy asset. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey would be, in the running for the running back 1 again this year if they don't add someone. So hopefully – I mean, every time I hear a coach or a general manager talk about a position that they're looking to add in this year's draft, I'm like, I just can't believe any – it's like they are doing a very high-level job, and this matters to a great degree to them. And so to come out and say, I'm looking for a wide receiver, that just feels like I don't believe you. I no longer believe you're looking for a wide receiver, and I hope that's the case here.
Yeah, they'll draft a running back.
Sure, but whether it's a third-rounder or, in the 6th or 7th, I mean, they've also been good at grabbing, the undrafted guys and signing them after the draft.
The biggest, if you want to paint the positive side of the McCaffrey story this year is, hey, he's the same old Christian McCaffrey. He stays healthy, has a great year, could be running back 1. The bad side is just the worries that you have with a running back that has been injured before and is getting older, which would be some sort of, if you have a tweak in training camp, if you have a small injury and you have depth, suddenly it starts to make more sense to protect the guy a little bit at some point in time. Get the most out of him on less snaps. I don't think there's anybody that thinks Christian McCaffrey's snap counts are going to stay prime Christian McCaffrey for the rest of his career. His efficiency could still be there, but that's what you get scared of with aging running back coming off season-ending injury, going into the year. So, if Caleb Johnson is a San Francisco 49er, Jason, which is a very possible thing.
That would make me very sad.
For Caleb?
for Caleb, for Christian McCaffrey, and for Isaac Garendo.
So triple set.
Yeah, that would be the exact opposite of what our quick question was, of what my hope was and why.
It would. So maybe that'd be what your hope isn't.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence optimistic he'll be a full go by the start of the camp or season. That seems like a big difference.
Those are very different.
Wait a minute.
Can we get the full tweet from Cameron Wolf to make sure?
Very, very different. 'Cause camp starts in July.
Camp/season. Like if you say by camp, cool. If you say by season, I'm like, wow, this is a worse injury than I thought.
Yeah. The season starts in September. So
Camp/season is a big range.
Yeah. So this is not news. I mean, that's what this is.
Liam
not news.
Cohen says they're going to be tweaking the footwork to fit the timing offense. Yeah, it says camp/season. That's the actual quote from Cameron Wolf.
Okay.
It was non-throwing shoulder surgery.
Mr. Wolf, I'm going to need like the audio clip or something there. Come on. Help us out, please.
Okay. Camp/season/playoffs.
I'll be ready anytime between now and October.
Trevor Lawrence, for all of the mud we could throw on him for his disappointing career so far, he's pretty tough. He's fought through some.
Sure.
I can't imagine. I think when camp comes around, a non-throwing shoulder injury is not going to keep him on the sidelines.
Camp/season.
Yes, but I full stopped at camp.
All right, we'll take a quick break. By the way, there's a new Dynasty pod out, the Mock Draft Mayhem episode with Kyle, Jason, and Mike, all in studio.
Yes.
You can watch it on YouTube.
The rookie mock draft. So if you want
is
to
that
hear,
why my microphone smells bad? Was
Mike,
that Kyle?
Mike was over there.
No, it was Kyle.
Oh, Kyle was over there.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
How dare you?
I thought I was
this?
going on with the joke. I didn't remember Kyle as part of the show because we were so good.
He just said Kyle was in studio.
That insinuates I listened to him.
Yeah, and so we did a mock draft where with a little mayhem put in there where we would be able to use that and say, okay, here's a scenario. What if this happens? Do you still value that player there? So, just exploring more opportunities and not just, hey, this is where I'm ranking a player right now.
All right, we'll take a break and we'll jump into some Keep Trade Cut.
Keep Trade Cut.
All right, we're going to start with some third, fourth round quarterback options. Keep Trade Cut. Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow.
Man.
Jayden, Jalen, and Joe.
Well, we're supposed to, ease into things, right?
Right. You normally want some softballs.
Oh, yeah, I want to lay up because this one is brutal.
I think the cut is pretty clear here.
You do?
I do, yeah.
Uh-huh. And
it would be,
you should tell us.
It would be Joe Burrow for me. And it's simple. We've talked about it a lot ad nauseum over the years, but the fact that he is a pure pocket passer, he's not going to be going out there and rushing for 10 touchdowns and 750 yards. That means that he's got to stay complete magma fire. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying I don't want Joe Burrow next year. I think he's going to be excellent. But if I had to draft at the same draft value today, and I'm deciding between these three players, I'm far more confident, assuming that tush push is not outlawed, I'm far more confident in the other two guys because of their scrambling, rushing, and rushing touchdown ability.
I know that is almost always my go-to answer, but it's like what Joe Burrow did last year. It's like, yeah, Jayden was a rookie. He's going to get better. But Joe Burrow was more points per game than both of those guys last year.
Kind of.
Kind of?
So Joe Burrow was 21.9 fantasy points per game last year. Jalen Hurts got injured in the third to last game and then didn't play the rest. If you take out his injured game, he was 22.2. So he actually averaged more than all three of these guys. It doesn't feel like that when you look at the season totals.
He was. It's funny because he was actually at 21 last year. Jalen Hurts was at 21 last year, and Burrow 2 years ago was 21.9 again. So this is tight.
Also, Jay, just so you know, that's 4 point. Just so you know that those points per game are 4 point.
Sure, but they were for both.
But okay, and it's because in 6 point I'm seeing Joe at 27.
Yeah, I would take Joe Burrow.
You would keep Joe Burrow? Like out of these three?
No. I would keep Jayden Daniels. I would trade Joe Burrow, and I would cut Jalen Hurts.
Mike?
Gosh, this question is wild. I guess I'm probably keeping Burrow, just because I'll take a slight value of give me the whatever running back, wide receiver in that Jayden Daniels spot, and then get me Burrow. Like, oh man,
the rushing attempts for Daniels is it's outstanding.
Yes,
148, I think. It's tight.
The reason that you say this is not a softball question is because my keep is Jalen Hurts. So you kept Burrow, I kept Hurts, and you kept Jayden Daniels. You can make a very intellectual argument for all three of them.
Right.
When I think about Jalen Hurts,
are they in the same tier?
Because
if they're in the same tier, you should take Burrow.
I don't. Yeah, I was going to say I don't think they're in the same tier because to me, I feel like the two mobile rushing quarterbacks are worth more than Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow, 21.9 points this year. That's great. A couple years ago, 21.9. He's had 19.6, 14.7. He had some injuries that year. But if you look at Jalen Hurts, and yes, these are all 4 point per. Both him and Jalen Hurts, all the numbers I'm talking about are 4 point per passing touchdowns, which does.
That favors
the mobile quarterback, but that is still the predominant, that's the majority of leagues. It's getting closer to 50-50, but you look at his numbers, I mean, 21 points, which, again, this was actually 22.2 if you take out his injured game last year for Jalen Hurts. The year before, 21, better than, all those other numbers. The year before, 25. You look at his rushing touchdowns, and I made a joke, which wasn't a joke, which was the tush push matters. The tush push, Jalen Hurts, since his rookie year where he didn't really play, as a actual starter, has not had fewer than 10 rushing touchdowns. Like in his career, 10, 13, 15, 14. There's a baseline there that is really unfair, and that's with Saquon having like 700 rushing touchdowns.
So Hurts was at what if the injured game?
22.2.
Okay.
In 4 point score.
You take out Week 18, Joe Burrow is at 22.5.
Both Burrow and Hurts have a consistency rating of B with 52.9% of games exceeding 20 points each.
I think
exactly tied.
Now, just to go back 1 second because I'm not going to let you just skip.
Oh, okay.
You take out his worst game.
I was just taking.
But he played 100% of snaps. I'm not taking out a random game. I'm taking out a game where Jalen Hurts didn't play.
Oh, I was taking out a game that real fantasy players don't play.
Sure, but Joe Burrow did.
I think I'm answering this question based on scoring format. Like if I'm in a 4 point, I guess I'll take the running quarterback. But if I'm in a 6 point per passing touchdown, I'll take a value on Joe Burrow. He'll go after those guys.
How is Burrow's? I haven't looked into this. His touchdown percentage, was it very different this last year than in years prior? Do you have that?
I can pull that up real quick. So this past year he was
5.8. Or wait,
no, he was at 6.6 in 24, and so the year so 23. It was the down year. He was down in the 4s, but before that was 5.8 and 6.5. Okay, so for Joe to be in the 6s is not strange.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's going to throw more touchdowns this year than Jalen Hurts. That's a given. It's just a matter of
it's the total touchdowns.
Yep, it's the total and the consistency, and they both have been very consistent. I mean, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about Jayden Daniels. You're going to be, target on your back, sophomore season, a lot of expectations, not catching anybody by surprise. Any thoughts about Jayden in the conversation of like?
It's funny. He's obviously being drafted ahead of the other two guys, and he's the most exciting. He is the guy that if I leave the draft with one of these three, I'm the most excited for Jayden Daniels just because the what if, such an incredible good rookie season.
Did you just gasp?
Yeah, that was
for effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That wasn't to sustain.
No,
life.
It wasn't to sustain life or speech. It was to be wowed. Okay. But it's funny with Jayden Daniels because there's the opportunity for him to really take off and elevate his game going into year 2, adding Deebo Samuel, all those things that are fantastic. But there's also the world where, the C.J. Stroud that was impossible to get worse, adding Stephon Diggs and going into year 2 couldn't get worse, but he didn't have as big a sample size. Neither Jalen Hurts nor Joe Burrow, to me, have aged out to where I'm fearful that their play is going to be bad next year. And so I would rather have someone that's got 3, 4, 5 seasons under their belt doing it consistently than the 1 year, even though the 1 year does mean higher potential.
500 votes in. I threw it up really quick. 51.5% 4-point leagues, 48.5% 6-point leagues. Polling the Foot Clan, which it seems pretty neck and neck right now.
And honest to goodness, Mike is very wise to say that those two players, and really more than any other two players, specifically Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, when you're comparing those two, that scoring format makes a big difference. Because you're talking about double-digit touchdowns on the ground for Jalen Hurts, guaranteed, if the tush push is still here, versus way more passing touchdowns for Joe Burrow.
Well, 7th and 8th round quarterbacks then, another 3 back-to-back-to-back. Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray. Baker had 8 finishes inside the top 5 at the position, which was the most of all quarterbacks. Bo Nix was at that sweet 21.9 fantasy points per game, which is Joe Burrow numbers in 4-point. That's from week 5 on for Bo Nix. And then Kyler Murray, the 5th most rushing yards among quarterbacks. There was some little puff piece about him running more.
It is.
Interview. It's an interview with Kyler, though.
That's what I say. It's not quite a puff piece because this isn't someone projecting. You
just know it's a lie.
Yes. That is the thing you have to decide. Watch the clip of it's Kyler Murray, and they're talking about him running, and Kyler he's saying yeah, next year I need to run more. It's going to be part of the scheme. Essentially, is what he's saying, and it's this. Oh my gosh, Kyler, are you seriously going to try drag us back in? Because we just got out.
No,
and I was feeling so good and so safe on the outside.
Stay out. The previous question had 2 rushing quarterbacks, 1 pocket passer. This one is more so 2 pocket passers, 1 rushing quarterback. Although Bo Nix can run a little bit, but.
Yeah, how far?
But so can Baker. I mean, they're scramblers, but they're not.
Bo Nix had 430 rushing yards, but on 92 attempts, a lot of rushing attempts.
Well, and
scrambles.
Don't discount Baker. He's almost at 400 yards on the ground.
So Kyler was at 572.
Yeah. So where do you look here? Kyler Murray with newly minted Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison sophomore season, Bo Nix with Cortland Sutton and company, probably adding some pieces in the draft. Baker Mayfield with his tried and true. All pros. Godwin will be back. Mike Evans, McMillan.
It's the thing for Baker is I know he was still good and fine when Chris Godwin left, but Chris Godwin before he went down I think he was the wide receiver 2 in points per game in all of fantasy football. He was dominating. We won't know the health of it, but like if you could tell me right now, going into week 1, Chris Godwin will be good to go and he'll be fine. Then I would go Baker.
Baker is currently being drafted higher. I think Baker is very safe.
Baker finishes the quarterback 3 last year.
Would you rather, real quick sidebar, would you rather have one of these 3 names, Mayfield, Nix, and Murray, at their ADP versus those first 3 names? Or would you rather be at the bottom of that last group and maybe take Burrow in the 5th pick off the board at quarterback versus waiting on these 3? Because these 3, you see upside cases, but you see downside for all 3 of them.
Definitely.
Like none of them feels like they're a lock. Like Bo Nix could definitely regress, have his ups and downs. Baker Mayfield, you feel okay about, but you don't really look at him as an every week auto start. And then Kyler Murray, he's had his disappointments of late that are just burning people out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. I put Jalen Hurts at the top of the earlier 3-pack. I would rather have him than any of these 3, including the ADP in and what you're sacrificing at the running back or wide receiver position. When I look at these 3 quarterbacks, and I'm like, okay, I think Bo Nix is going to be good. He looked great as a rookie. Hasn't done it yet. Kyler, I know, is cursed and will ruin me. He's out. He will only be good once we're all out. So just get him out. Don't include him. But Baker
Does that mean we can never go back in, though? Because as soon as you go in,
correct, you will be burned.
It stops?
Yes. If you want him to be good, stay out. Everyone get off the Kyler Murray train, and then he'll be okay. Otherwise, if he has one believer, if Mama still believes, he's going to make sure to disappoint her. Of the three quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback. For NFL purposes, I believe he is the best quarterback. That's who I want. But for fantasy purposes, it is scary. I brought up Joe Burrow's passing touchdown numbers. When you aren't a prolific pass rusher, which Baker did scramble a lot this year, which is helpful, but that's not like necessarily guaranteed that he's going to be a 400 rushing yard
type
player.
The previous year, he was 62 for 163.
Exactly.
He rushed the exact same amount of times this year, but for 378 yards. It's very outlier.
It is an outlier, but the other thing that's an outlier, so if those rushing numbers come down.
12 fumbles.
The
Baker, hold on to the ball.
The passing touchdown rate for Baker Mayfield, if you take out his rookie season, actually we'll include his rookie season because it was great, 5.6%. Even help him out here. His average before this season, his passing touchdown rate is 4.6%, which is slightly above average for the NFL. That's not a bad percentage. That's like, hey, you're a franchise quarterback.
But that's not fantasy winning pocket
No,
passer.
but you want to know what it is? 7.2.
Yeah.
And that's what he threw last year. So, there's warts on all three of these guys.
I think Baker. I look at Baker at this point in two careers. Like I don't. It's
Sure.
it's Tampa Bay Baker and everything before.
Right, but the first year Tampa Bay
Baker
Baker was
4.9.
4.9.
Yep.
So, if you meet in the middle, you're still okay. You're not QB3. But
So I'll keep Baker, trade Kyler. I'll cut Nix.
man,
I think at the value, like Jayden Daniels has the ability to regress going into year 2. So does Bo Nix. But the value where it's later in the draft versus earlier, they both have the option to go north. I think I'm going to take Nix
As your keep?
as my keep, trade Baker, and, of course, cut Kyler. But it's tough. I like Baker a lot. I don't think there's any player
Yeah.
I prefer watching right now.
I think I'm going to keep Baker.
If he's the best quarterback and has the best wide receivers, which is the current situation,
Definitely.
and has a passing, like a running back room that can catch the football with Bucky Irving and with Rashad White, it's easier for me to lean that way. Did you answer the question of would you take one of these three or the first three at their ADP?
I would take Burrow overall.
Yeah, I would take Hurts.
Running back, keep, trade, cut. Chuba Hubbard, okay? These are back-to-back-to-back again. They've been designed to be difficult. Chuba Hubbard, Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Bone Walker. K-Bone. The Bone Man.
Yeah.
The Bone Zone.
This one's not difficult
Now,
to me.
Chuba is RB17. He's a higher ADP right now than the other two guys. If you look at the game log, you will probably be shocked again at just how outstanding Chuba Hubbard was. 4.8 a carry, almost 1,200 yards despite missing a game. And his opportunities didn't even shoot up till week 3. But you're talking about, he had games, 31 opportunities, 34 opportunities. He was a workhorse for them. Jonathan Brooks will not be in the picture. Alvin Kamara, we know what we got with him at this point in time. And then Kenneth Walker, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, but obviously a ton of talent. What is your instant reaction to that?
My instant reaction is that I don't think Alvin Kamara should be at this place in the draft.
Because it's too low?
It's too low. He's old. He's 29.7. He's going to play at 30 years old this coming season. And so he's going to stay in this area of the draft. There's a player who has just never not been great, like ever pretty much. The last couple of years, he was on a per-game basis outstanding, but at the end of both years kind of fell apart. I think his ADP – can I just defend his ADP here? Yeah.
I think his ADP here is very specific to, I think, where underdog is on best ball type of situations. The injury risk that you talked about, the fact that his prime is behind him. Chuba Hubbard could have a better season. Chuba Hubbard could be entering that. He just got paid big money The team made huge steps over the back half of the year, and he is the guy. So I think, in underdog, you're also looking for ceiling. And I don't know if we believe that at this stage, Alvin Kamara has much ceiling left. He's got a good floor.
Yeah,
do you disagree with that?
No. I was looking up. I wanted to see on Sleeper where it's not a best ball mentality.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara is a few spots ahead of Chuba.
That makes sense to me.
They're basically at the 4-5 turn. Kenneth Walker is almost a full round ahead of Chuba. He's an early 4th versus a late 4th for Kamara versus early 5th for Chuba.
Yeah, that it's super surprising and won't be normal for redraft leagues for Chuba to be the highest drafted among these three.
Right.
So to me, I'm throwing the ADPs of underdog out. I'm looking at it from a redraft league. I'm looking in August what I'm going to be doing. In that case, it's easier to sell Chuba as the best value of the group. 17 fantasy points per game from weeks 3 through 16. RB7. It's probably time we gave him a little bit more credit. So I will do that now.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep Chuba Hubbard at the value. I'll trade Alvin Kamara and I'll cut Walker.
I have no problem giving Chuba the credit. I mean, he financially it's all there. But they're for fantasy purposes. I mean, the Carolina Panthers backfield, it was a situation this year. It just worked out of they thought they were going to have Chuba and Jonathan Brooks and maybe even and Miles Sanders. Like they thought they had enough bodies, and then the bodies just depleted, and it was only Chuba. The Jonathan Brooks comeback was very short and very bitter. And while I'm not saying Rico Dowdle was overtaking Chuba, but looking at just box score hunting, after the bye week, you had a full straight month of Chuba Hubbard averaging about 3.5 yards per carry. So I'm wondering, did the Carolina Panthers see a guy who was
at 4.8 on the year?
Yeah, the season.
Wild.
That's what I'm saying. The season opened up gangbusters for him. But do they feel like we overworked him and we do need someone else to come in here and take some of these carries because his total
I don't think
opportunities.
304 was the goal, but he was at 282 the year before. So you're talking about a player that's held up to 280 plus for 2 straight years.
So, I think Rico is going to take more workload than the Chuba people want to believe, and then Kamara, it's they have to draft somebody, right?
They have to someday. I mean, they definitely need a running back. Yes,
because if they don't, then Alvin Kamara is going to get. He'll get all those receptions again. He'll be gross.
He'll be hurt again.
Gross and
That's
disgusting.
what'll happen.
Man. So you're keeping Chuba, Jay. Who are you?
I'm going to keep Alvin Kamara. The most explosive, per play guy is Kenneth Walker here. But if you want to talk about getting hurt, I have more confidence in Alvin Kamara playing 17 than I do Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very controversial one that we just discussed. I don't think many will agree with me about Chuba. I think a lot of people are bullish on Kenneth Walker and are probably sitting here going, he should 100% be the highest among this group.
He is currently being drafted as the highest. The team has made an offensive coordinator change that from the outside appears to be to get towards running the ball more, and that it makes sense. And when you see Kenneth Walker on the field, he's very, very good.
Yeah.
Number
Mike
one
calls
in
him
forced missed tackle rate among 46 running backs with 100-plus carries. Yeah, if you're not factoring in draft costs here, I think Walker is just fine to be your keep.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with anyone for keeping Walker. He could end up being a steal in this year's draft. But Ken Brittlebone Walker is tough to really anchor your ship to.
I'm going to keep him, though.
So, we're keeping –
you're
keeping
quit.
Chuba. I'm keeping Kamara.
Can't quit Ken Bone Walker.
You're keeping Ken Bone.
It's too sensational when you want to play.
Yeah, I'm just going for value. But, yeah, I think pure talent and entering – like Kenneth Walker and Chuba Hubbard, you put them in the exact same system and you tell them – you give them the same opportunities and you say you're not hurt for the year. Kenneth Walker will have a bigger fantasy year than Chuba Hubbard will. But I just don't think anybody really wants to build their team around Chuba Hubbard, even though they could have done it for 2 straight years now. For 2 straight years, you could have had him in as your RB2 and you'd have been living life. Whereas Walker missed time, Kamara missed time.
Man,
it's a tough call.
Imagine if Walker doesn't, though.
Exactly.
Huh?
But the biggest problem of getting hurt a bunch is just teams' decision-making on how they manage the future. Like, they just invested money in Kamara, too. Like, they just re-upped Kamara, and it's like, well, do you want him on the field?
They don't know what they're doing.
They don't want him on the field 38 times like he was on the field in Week 9. 38 opportunities.
That's all they got.
I'm sure that played
Yeah.
a part in missing the last 3 weeks of the season and not being helpful.
I believe he led the team in receptions.
Yeah.
So
Because that's your case for them is they draft one of the top wide receivers and they get healthy. Maybe they go down.
yeah, I mean,
Could have a
hopefully
quarterback
Chris
change.
Olave can stay healthy. That would be great.
Derek Carr play 17 for them,
I don't think so,
Mike?
but not because of injury.
Right. That's
You
why
think-
I'm asking.
You think they
Yeah.
take someone and he gets benched?
I think towards the end of the year he gets benched whether they take someone or not. If they're not winning games, they're going to, probably due to injury, contract situation, just be like, let's go. Let's get our quarterback of the future
Let's get
next year.
Jaxson Dart a few snaps.
Oh.
All right, we'll take a break. We got a couple more. And I mentioned it at the top of the top 15 running backs and wide receivers early ranking shows coming next week, by the way. Keep, trade, cut. These are all hard. Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin.
Let's
Just to give you
change
the
Terry to DeAndre Hopkins, just to make it
to
a
make
lot
it easier to have an easy cut.
Oh.
Yeah,
McLaurin last year was one of 10 wide receivers since 2000 with 13-plus reception touchdowns, receiving TDs on fewer than 125 targets, so hyper efficient in the touchdown department. But, I mean, go-to guy for Jayden Daniels. T. Higgins last year, 4th best among wide receivers in fantasy points per game. If you run up the hill and get on the field, T, it's nice.
they call him the Ken Bone Walker of wide receivers.
And then just got paid.
I have a type.
And-
Yes, Mike has
Yeah.
a type. He likes the guys who, if they play, they're great.
They burn so bright, guys.
Oh, just imagine Blake Jarwin if he had been out there. Garrett Wilson, second most targets through 3 years in NFL history. He'll have Justin Fields. This is what's actually interesting about these three names that I like is that they are all three players that have been so much hope in each name for so long. So much it wasn't their year has happened to them. And here we are with good seasons coming into 2025, being drafted back to back to back on underdog.
Terry McLaurin, to me, is the easy cut of the three of these people.
Really?
Yeah, to me, he's
Okay.
the easy cut because, Andy just read the crazy efficiency of touchdowns. We talk about it all the time. Even for prolific, career-long touchdown scorers, there is a lot of variance from year to year when it comes to specifically touchdowns. This is a guy, obviously, we've always talked about he's got a quarterback problem. Well, now he's got a quarterback solution. That doesn't change the fact that he's had 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 13. 13 touchdowns when you've got a great quarterback is hard to repeat. So now
that number at that volume is.
Yeah, now you add in Deebo Samuel, and you go, okay, I see how it goes wrong. You also look at these three guys and you go, well, who's the oldest? Terry McLaurin's going to turn 30 this year. So it's not that Terry McLaurin is a great player. I don't think he's aged out, but he is getting older. He's got a great quarterback that could take a step forward but could also take a step back. So when I'm comparing him to T. Higgins and Garrett Wilson, I would rather have those other two guys.
It's funny because, you are cutting the by far best fantasy finisher.
From last year, yeah.
From last year.
Yeah.
Mike, do you agree with the easy cut on Terry McLaurin? Because I don't think I do. I think my keep here, I actually think is going to be T. Higgins.
I thought for sure it's going to be Terry McLaurin.
It's going to be T. Higgins, but then I'm gonna trade Terry McLaurin. I'm gonna cut Garrett Wilson. I don't like the level of Garrett Wilson may put up a fantasy finish that you're kind of okay with. I do not think it will be very consistent with Justin Fields in that division, and I think that the team needs to add more pieces. So that's the way I'm going to go.
So I'm doing a quick look here of the history of Washington while Terry is there. Like, how many passing touchdowns per year were they having? So the rookie year, that was where it was just brutal. That was like, the Alex Smith threw 6 touchdowns. So they had 16 total passing touchdowns that season. So that one, I'm not even going to factor that into any of my thought here. In 2021, they had 21 passing touchdowns. In 22, it was 24, 23. In 2023, it was, where did we go? 24 passing touchdowns. And this year was 29. 25 was Jayden Daniels. So my point being, like, it's not a crazy difference. Yeah, like they weren't substantially higher in passing touchdowns this year, but Terry McLaurin hit, and so that makes
it even scarier.
That makes it far more difficult when the team is still throwing mid-20s and Terry McLaurin's catching 5 to 6 touchdowns a year, and then he has the 1 year where he shoots up, and of course Jayden Daniels is the variable that we don't have enough information on yet. That's scary. That, like Jason's saying, that feels like it was the magical year for Terry McLaurin because the yardage was normal Terry yardage. This was just he came through with a lot of receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, T. Higgins would be my keep as well, Andy. T. Higgins last year was 15.5 fantasy points per game when he played. That was significantly ahead of Terry McLaurin's 13.3 or Garrett Wilson's 11.8. So you're talking about a player that, I mean, again, he has a health issue, but good news, everybody.
That was also a spike for T.
But the good news is his new contract incentivizes him actually playing in these games.
Does.
I was so thrilled when
there is such a high per game bonus check for him every single week.
Yeah.
If you look at Garrett Wilson, if we're talking touchdowns, he has 469 career targets.
Nice.
He averages a touchdown every 33.5 targets.
I don't think that's going up with Justin Fields.
Which is only 14 touchdowns on 469 career targets across 3 years. He's never had the spike year. He doesn't have the quarterback situation figured out.
You know what? You were right. It is not an easy cut for Terry McLaurin. It's an easy keep for T. Higgins to me.
That's fine. Because if I had to bet money on which one would have double-digit touchdowns, I would bet T. Higgins despite Terry McLaurin's 13.
Yeah, me too.
But Terry McLaurin get to 8 or 9 with the best, a much better quarterback situation than Garrett Wilson. Like, what are the odds of Garrett Wilson putting 10 into the end zone this year? McLaurin has to be higher than that.
Yeah, and then quarterback-wise, like Jayden Daniels had an incredible year, 25 passing touchdowns.
He could go.
Could
go up.
Yeah, he can. But is he going to be anywhere close to Burrow?
No.
So that's why I'm Higgins, McLaurin, then Wilson.
Yeah, even though he's the technical wide receiver 2 on his team, I'd rather be the wide receiver 2 where my quarterback can be 4,040 than
Garrett Wilson upsets me.
He upsets me too.
He really makes me upset because, yeah, okay, Aaron Rodgers didn't play the best, and he had a fine fantasy season.
He had a stretch run in the middle of the season right before Devontae Adams got there where the breakout was happening. But and then it got shut down.
I don't watch Terry McLaurin or T. Higgins when they're on the field and get frustrated by them. Like what? Why can't you tap your toes or why can't Garrett Wilson is a talented wide receiver. He's super good, but he does some stuff out there that I feel like just mental errors over and over. And so if you're taking the volume from Aaron Rodgers to Justin Fields, that's going to be frustrating.
What if Garrett Wilson is more Jarvis Landry than we'd like to give him credit for?
I could see that.
What if he's not that guy?
What if he's not Justin Jefferson? We've been waiting for him to be Justin Jefferson.
I mean,
and it's just not going to happen.
He's caught 57% of his passes in 3 years. He's got no.
It's bad. It's been.
I mean, it's not like it's not a lack of targets.
Yeah, but on those targets, those first 2 years, the targets were so bad.
He's got to be the first player to turn 95 receptions into a wide receiver 32 finish.
Because look at those first 2 years, he caught 57% of his passes. That jumped to 66%
quarterback
with
play.
A bad Aaron Rodgers. So
and yet still much better than what he had.
Yeah. I know, man.
So where did you finalize?
I'm keeping T.
How do you rank the other two?
I guess I would trade. I mean, Garrett's going higher, but that's also best ball mentality. I think in redraft, people are going to prefer Terry, so I'll trade Terry.
You know what?
Oh,
I'm gonna make that pivot. An easy. He would be
from easy cut to.
He would be an easy cut to me if this was keep cut.
Yeah, the question becomes much easier if it's
This
keep
guy
cut.
can change any rule he wants.
Look, you guys,
You know what?
you guys won me over. You swayed me.
I'm gonna one up you. Imagine the game is cut.
That's so easy. I'm cutting T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, and Garrett Wilson.
I'm cutting Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, and T. Higgins.
You can't get it wrong.
No, this is way easier.
Man,
Do we want to try on this final tight end keep trade cut?
Sure.
I want to try on tight end cut.
Well, you would cut the tight ends sometimes. Sam LaPorta,
Oh, this one's
TJ
fun.
Hockenson, Mark Andrews. This one is fun. There's some stank on all these guys right now. TJ Hockenson, had the major injury. It was tough. Mark Andrews, the slow start. You had to have some metal to keep playing him.
Yeah, which the Mark Andrews was you either had the stones to keep him, and he destroyed you to the point where it's like
It didn't matter what he did
like,
later.
Once the comeback, it was too late. So even if you survived it, he was murdering you on a week-to-week basis.
LaPorta obviously did not have the replication of his rookie season, but did have a nice finish. Andrews, the nice finish. Hockenson, it's going to be a new quarterback, but we know what he's capable of. It just coming back last year, he wasn't the same guy. It was pretty clear. He was on some snap counts. Where did he get to? Did he get up to 70% of snaps? Yeah, he did that twice. But, he averaged 4 catches a game, which was not what we saw in 2023, right? I mean, he was a 6-catch-a-game guy in 2023. Do you have this one worked out already? LaPorta, Hockenson, Andrews. Right now on Underdog, it's LaPorta first, Hockenson second, Andrews third. And this is probably Andrews' last year with Baltimore.
With Baltimore. It certainly could be. Hockenson is extremely difficult because he was last year. It's hard to take stock in anything from last year because he was recovering from such a devastating injury. He didn't catch any touchdowns.
95 for 960 and 5 the year before.
And now he will have essentially a rookie as his quarterback, which that then caps your touchdown upside because if J.J. McCarthy hits mid-20s in touchdowns, he had a great year.
All right, I've got my answer. PPR
Go.
leagues, I'm keeping Hockenson.
Okay.
And then I will trade LaPorta, cut Andrews in full PPR. If I am 100% standard league, I'm actually going to keep Mark Andrews.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and trade Hockenson and cut LaPorta.
I think no matter the format, I'm going to keep LaPorta, trade Andrews. I think he's slightly more valuable than Hockenson.
I think I'm going to keep LaPorta here. I really want to keep Mark Andrews because I
Neither of you considered keeping Hockenson.
I did. I considered all three. I mean, I think these are you can make arguments for all of them. Hockenson, when he was on,
he'll catch the most passes by maybe 30.
He will catch the most passes. He was coming off of an injury, didn't play the whole season. His projection, if his projection for the season would have been, 69 receptions, which would have been significantly more than either of the other two guys, significantly nicer. And so Hockenson is definitely in the running to me. But you've got, last year was a down year for LaPorta. And, Mark Andrews was better than LaPorta because he got a ton of touchdowns. But we know LaPorta can get touchdowns. He just did it his rookie year. So the touchdowns to me aren't what I can bank on. I've got to bank on volume a little bit. So that's where Hockenson, maybe he should be the right pick. But I also think that LaPorta should be better this coming season than he was this last season.
Mike,
meet in the middle.
LaPorta.
I'm going to keep LaPorta.
LaPorta ended up as the tight end 7 despite the rough start to the year. Still scored 7 times. That's okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go LaPorta, Hawk, Andrews.
Because my question on Hockenson is if J.J. McCarthy throws 25, 26 passing touchdowns, which again is for a first-time starter, that's a great year. How many of those? What's Hawkinson's touchdown upside?
I would be. That's why I said PPR because I'm not counting on more than 5.
Yeah, and Andrews, Andrews he has the opportunity to go double digits again. So I like him more than Hockenson.
I still think Andrews could be like, when I watched Andrews, I did not see bad play. I really didn't. I saw an offense that no longer.
There was one bad play.
Yes, okay. The drop ski on the 2-point conversion was bad, but I think the offense has moved beyond requiring Mark Andrews.
Well, this is why he'd be the biggest risk of these three by far. Like LaPorta and Hockenson are very. I think those two guys are much safer. We saw from Andrews that he can completely. Like, he shut it down for the first 5 weeks.
At least weeks 2 and 3.
But then he was very good. It's just I don't have as much confidence in his role. Like, I know Hockenson, with J.J. McCarthy and Hockenson, that's like BFFs. That's going to be the most important player to McCarthy outside of Jefferson because of just how many underneath safety valve plays. Whereas we've talked before, LaPorta, he's going to fall behind the pecking order of Amon-Ra, and probably J-Mo and the running backs, potentially. I mean, I would expect more receptions from Jahmyr Gibbs than 60.
I think then it becomes philosophical of if you're going with the tight end position, do you want to go safe? I think that I just want to go upside or I'm going waiver wire.
So
that's why you drafted Mark Andrews where you did.
The jokes happening about cut are, fun, but that's genuine. Like, I don't want any of the I don't want any of these tight ends. These are the exact type of tight ends that I will not be drafting in 2025.
Do we know? Do you have rounds? Do you have the sleeper rounds for these guys? Because I don't really like looking at underdog best ball. What tight end they are doesn't matter to me. But like if Hockenson's if he's an 8th round tight end for me, then I'm cool getting 90 receptions at my tight. It's like taking Ingram.
Yeah, 8th round is fine.
If he's an 8th round tight end, I'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, LaPorta right now is showing up in the 6th. Andrews is in the 7th. Hockenson is blowing my mind, and I feel like the data has to be broken because it says he's in the 4th round.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that won't work for me.
No, but I don't want to me.
I know you like the 8th, Andy, but what if it was the 4th?
No, that's not going to work.
Yeah, so
for me.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draft Brock Bowers or Trey McBride or George Kittle. I'm going to get Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. I'm going to take Bowers, McBride, or Kittle. And then if I don't get one of those guys, I am checking out, and I will go late. I will take someone that I don't think
You'll take Evan Ingram on the Broncos late.
Sure, I'll take Evan Ingram on the Broncos.
That could be good.
I'll take David Njoku again. I'll take one of the 2 rookies, depending on where Loveland goes, or Tyler Warren or Fannin.
Oh man,
I'll add him in there.
He's going to
be a day 2 pick
on Harold.
Well, there you go. Those were tough. Those are tough.
Yeah.
There were a couple positions where I think the league format makes the biggest difference.
Got to get Harold to a purple team.
Are you talking Harold Fannin?
Yeah.
Why to a purple team?
Oh, come on, Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Wow.
Super sick reference.
I mean, where's the crickets on that? What?
Someone will like it.
Oh, someone will love that. I've never heard that in my life.
What?
Have you? 10
What was
years,
it?
Mike. We don't
Harold
know
and the Purple
things.
Crayon. It was a kid's book. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.